Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Castalia Cocktails. The Fairy Tales menu, brand new for the season, examines beloved children's stories such as The Little Mermaid and The Jungle Book and the darkness within these tales, all properly paired with sfumato fragrances. And of course, there are alcohol-free versions of each of the 8 special cocktails. And the whole Castalia menu both tells you how boozy a drink is, and there is a full non-alcoholic lineup, taking care to give you a top-notch sensory experience no matter how you'd like to drink. An intimate bar with less than 20 seats, Castalia is a great spot for a night out, a drink after dinner, or a date. In the garden level on 2nd Avenue at West Alexandrine in Detroit's beautiful Midtown, they're open to all Wednesdays through Saturdays from 5 to 11 p.m., with the possibility for unique experiences like private events and menu tastings anytime with a reservation. You can learn more at CastaliaCocktails.com. That's CastaliaCocktails.com. Make sure to support the businesses that support us and stop on by. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Daily Detroit. It is Friday, November 10th, 2023. I am Jer Stays, and joining me across the table, as he does every Friday, and it's always good to do this in person,
it's Devon O'Reilly. Great to be here, Jer. Crisp autumn day.
You know, an autumn makes me think of so many things, and we're already past November 1st. We're embarking on Thanksgiving. We're actually going to have some holiday topics that we're going to get into. Because, I think we set people off a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like a subtopic we didn't even plan on talking about, Jared, but, I want to put it out there. I think Halloween decorations got to come down. Like, they should be down right now. You get a week after Halloween. Halloween needs to be down or else it starts to look pathetic if you still have Halloween decorations up. And, when it's too early for Christmas, we started stringing some lights outside. We didn't turn them on, but look, you got to be prepared. You catch a decent weekend and, you want to be able to get ahead of those Christmas lights. You don't want to be doing it in 25-degree weather.
So you're saying do Christmas lights after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving if you have opportunity?
Before. I feel like, I don't know about other people, but you spend a crap ton of money on decorations and lights and stuff. If you're only going to put them up for 3 weeks, then I don't know if it's worth it. So why not put them up before Thanksgiving?
Did you know I saw something special, an interstitial decoration, if you will, driving around? I didn't get to stop and take a picture. Lions themed. So they did Lions decorations with a giant inflatable helmet, blue, like those ice blue lights. So they decided to do, I don't know, I hadn't driven by this house before, but someone actually did Lions themed holiday, which to me, considering that the Lions play on Thanksgiving, maybe those are Thanksgiving lights.
I like that a lot. And you know what? It actually could continue on because, you have a lot of people do like the blue and white lights for Christmas. I've seen that done a lot. So frankly, you could just kind of keep those up.
And just layer over the rest of Christmas.
Or don't, because as long as the Lions keep winning, hey, we are just in one giant celebration this season so far.
One thing I wanted to mention, we were talking about Thanksgiving songs, and people showed up with suggestions.
Oh, wow. Jerry, kudos to our listeners. You just pulled out stuff I hadn't even considered, thought of, heard ever before.
All right. So I want to lead this with longtime listener Kevin, who mentioned Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant. And actually, if you refer to it properly, it's Alice's Restaurant Massacre.
Massacre? I don't know if it sounds like a Halloween song almost.
Well, not quite. So it's a protest song about the Vietnam War, but it became a tradition to play it on Thanksgiving through public radio, through people who were from New York, things like that, because the song itself is set at Thanksgiving, okay? And the whole thing is that the main protagonist, if you haven't heard this song, I can't play it because of music rights issues, but it is 18 minutes long.
Yeah, but it's also like basically the length of our podcast. So.
It is the podcast of songs because it tells a story.
Can you listen to it at 1.5 speed?
I haven't tried. I should try. But the idea is that the protagonist of the story ended up committing a minor crime, helping out this restaurant, and there was like a whole big police reaction, and it actually gave them a criminal record so that they wouldn't have to serve in Vietnam.
Wow, the things that people were coming up with in those days, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's the whole tradition thing, and a lot of public radio stations play it. It's one of my favorites, but my dad was a hippie. You hadn't heard it before the show.
No, my dad was a hippie as well, but I hadn't heard this one. I hadn't got deep enough into Arlo Guthrie. I know who he is, and I've heard some of his songs before, but I just had not heard Alice's Restaurant.
All right. Jane suggests We Are Family by Sister Sledge as a Thanksgiving song.
That's tangential at best. We can't just say a song about family is a Thanksgiving song, can we? I don't know.
Isn't Thanksgiving about coming together with your family, whether
Well,
blood or chosen or any of that?
I was going to say, I guess a loose definition of family. Sure. On Thanksgiving, I think people think, especially nowadays and age with blended families and people who, have friends who have basically become family. If you just kind of use the loose term of coming together as family, then I guess I'll give them that.
So from Matthew, My Hometown by Uncle Cracker.
Just because they're going back to their hometown?
Maybe. I mean, Uncle Cracker's also a Metro Detroit native. I think he was born in Mount Clemens?
I think so. East Sider, not a West Sider. Yeah, I guess. If it's just about coming back to your hometown, though, I don't know.
Okay.
These are loose. I need something a little.
And then this one is both Thanksgiving and like holiday in general because it references pumpkin pie as well as a little bit of like Christmas. But listener Elizabeth nominated The Christians and the Pagans by Dar Williams.
Yeah, I hadn't heard this or Dar Williams ever before. You played it for me earlier, right before this. And wow, okay. This was pretty on the nose. It mentions Thanksgiving specifically as it does Christmas and getting together people from different belief systems.
Something we kind of need right now.
So, you know what? If I'm voting, I mean, I don't know. This one was pretty close to hitting the nail on the head. I would have never thought it.
Also, big response, your search for Maurice Salad.
It continues.
And we are continuing to take nominations, dailydetroit@gmail.com. We had some really good ones. I want to give a real shout out to one of our listeners, Anne, that says that we should go to Bo's Bloomfield Bar and Grill in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. It's worth the drive.
I heard a couple from Bo. Some people reached out to me directly and said that.
Okay, people reached out directly too? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Some listeners I know better than others. Some are friends. And so I got some people who reached out directly. And, honestly, I'm just giving you my Devon 2 cents here, selfishly. When I first heard Bo's Bloomfield, I'm like, oh, gosh, God, it's so far away from me, though. I Googled it, Google mapped it. And not to say specifically where I live, but frankly, I mean, people know where I live generally in West Dearborn. It's only a 29-minute drive. So actually, it's really not that bad. It's like me going to the east side of Detroit.
Yeah, it's totally doable and something you should check out. You got any other names that you heard?
Yeah, I heard of Maze Cafe in Mount Clemens. Our loyal listener, Jason, who would love to have us out in Mount Clemens, wants us to go to Maze for Maurice, which I would, if I go to Mount Clemens, I am absolutely going to Maze for Maurice.
Should we do the event at Maze?
We might have to, but we'll also have to check out Black Cat Coffee because I know that gets a lot of shout outs from him. And then a colleague of mine actually mentioned one that I totally overlooked, and I've had it before, but it's been a little while. The Dearborn Country Club has a really, really good Maurice salad. I am not a member, but I have been there for several events, and I have had their Maurice. It is really good, so I'm going to have to find a way to go back there. Any listeners who are members of the Country Club, if you want to invite me, I would love to come give you an endorsement and give the Maurice an endorsement.
Did you know that I had a Maurice salad before you?
No.
Yeah, I snuck one in because I found a Maurice salad at the food truck for Grand Traverse Pie Company.
Oh.
For where I was or where I've been. And somehow, I don't know how, I ended up on Grosse Ile over the weekend and went to this holiday vintage market at the municipal airport. I saw Santa arrive on a helicopter over the weekend.
What the heck?
I know. I didn't even plan it. I literally drive into this thing and there's Santa coming from the skies, and it just worked out.
That is wild, Jer. And it also reminds me that Grosse Ile has an airport. What an interesting place. I would love to do a deeper dive on Grosse Ile. I'm just throwing that out there. I feel like that is one of those places people, especially again, east side, west side, maybe north siders, whatever you want to call them, people have no idea like what is going on in Grosse Ile.
There are some big houses on Grosse Ile.
It's
huge.
Just island with all these huge houses on it. They have 2 bridges. They've got an airport. They've got golf courses.
And a bicycle museum.
A bicycle museum. And they've got like their own little, like I've asked before, like, because what do I care about? I asked somebody who lived there one time, like, so you guys have like bars and restaurants? Like, oh yeah, we got bars and restaurants on the island. I'm like, holy crap, I gotta check this out. And I have not done it yet, but more to come on Grosse Ile, right, Jerry? And Santa shows up there. Heck, he flies in a helicopter.
This is an idea actually we should totally take for City Airport because the hangars are vintage like City Airport where they're a little bit lower and a big expanse. This market had a ton of vendors, picked up some like quality specialty bread of all things. I was wondering doing errands and I saw a little flyer for something. I'm like, wait a second, this is today. Why not? I haven't been to Grosse Ile in forever. So across the bridge I go to this airport at the end of the island. It's at the point that you have to go to. And there was a ton of people. Like the parking lots were full early in the morning. I'm like, this is a whole world I was not plugged into. And there's Santa coming from the skies. I'll put a TikTok up about it. And it was a really nice little time, a nice little surprise to go check out all of this stuff. And I was like, why don't we do this at City Airport? That'd be really cool.
It would be really cool. I mean, yeah. Shout out to listeners in Groseal if we have any. I believe we do, but it's wild that they have that going on. It's such a cool idea. City Airport could work. I also feel like City Airport, though, is kind of like a destination. Fortunately or unfortunately, like I don't see like a lot of like people just around that area who would come to it. So you'd have to really seek it out.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, if you put up enough warning and like build it up, I think because there's plenty of parking, there's plenty of everything else around there. So it was just an idea. I just thought it would be something cool because Groseal is a little bit of the way out there. Because you really are living on an island there. And I was amazed at how much nature and everything else was there. And one of these days, I think I need to do a gross eel history episode. It's something I really haven't looked up much.
No, me neither, but I'm very intrigued by it. And maybe we'll just go to Groseal. We'll start taking this on the road.
So where have you been?
Well, I wanted to call out somewhere I've been that I think I know that we've mentioned before and we've had the proprietor on before, but it was something on a whim. I was at Coffee Down Under, our buddy Tarun, on Shelby Street there, Fort and Shelby. I popped in the other day for a coffee, and I noticed on the menu they had espresso martini, and it kind of struck me because it's a really small space, and I kind of figured, well, you don't really drink stuff there. It's kind of just a grab and go type of place. So I asked him, like, what happens if I order this espresso martini? And he said, well, we'll give it to you in a plastic cup, and that's the end of the story. And I said, well, okay. I thought we can't do the open carry, as I call it, but we all know what I'm talking about. And he said, no, we put a little sticker on the top that says this drink contains alcohol, must be delivered to a person 21 years or older. It's a very small sticker. I have it in front of me. So I decided just to grab one just to see what that would be like. And it is interesting. They give you an espresso martini, a little plastic cup with a sticker over the top. And then I kind of asked him, tongue in cheek, like, well, so if I walk out of here, I can just open this up. He's like, yeah, you could, but we've done our part. We've told you this is the rule. So it's a really cool thing.
So you brought this to the studio.
I fully respected the rule.
And you brought it to the studio.
I brought it to the studio, and I opened it in the studio and had a taste. It's really nice. It's a nice, smooth little cocktail in a to-go form.
I'm really glad to see them cutting their own kind of direction down there. It's really good.
Yeah, no, I like it. And right now they only have this espresso martini, but it's really good, and they make it with with their espresso. So I think it's something. Check it out if you're walking by there. I'm just saying. I mean, grab something to go. Grab something maybe on your way into work if it's going to be a rough day, or on your way home. But open it once you get to your destination.
Devon, you're somebody who is involved often in what they call the mobility space, but basically EVs, AVs, business development, all that sort of thing. And there is the latest news that General Motors is pausing production of their Cruise Origin at the Detroit factory. This is on the heels of Cruise kind of being booted off the streets of San Francisco because there was a pretty bad accident with a pedestrian. This is something where people are kind of wondering what is going to be happening with autonomous vehicles, autonomous technology. I will note that Ford disinvested in their autonomous programs for the most part and really focused on EVs. I mean, what does this mean for us? And, you can sometimes see autonomous vehicles around Corktown and things.
It's not surprising for someone or anyone who kind of sits even adjacent or in the industry. I think that 5 years ago, we were being kind of sold a lot of BS, frankly. People were talking up this autonomous software and what it was going to be able to do in a very short amount of time. And it seemed like it was one of those, this is just on the horizon. And I think I've said, there's people who I talked to at the time who said, well, my kid who's 6 years old now, they won't even get a driver's license because, we'll just have self-driving cars everywhere. And then you had those people who kind of were skeptical of it. And the reality was it was just a bill of goods that was just not true. I mean, it was just smoke and mirrors, Jared. And I don't want to, I'm trying to not be too kind of negative about it, but it's so far from where people thought we were at 5 years ago. And I don't know who to blame yet because I'm not the one making these decisions, but GM certainly is having these issues and they're pausing it. Ford's done more partnering, but the king of this space, Tesla, has had more problems than anyone. I mean, if you look up a car and driver report, there's been 736 crashes since 2019 and resulted in 17 fatalities from Tesla Autopilot. So clearly they don't have their crap together either. So this is an industry-wide thing.
Do you think a lot of people were following the hot thing? I mean, I do think that autonomous has some sort of future somehow. I don't know what it's going to look like. GM says they're still committed. They say they're going to do some stuff in Tokyo in 2026. But were people fast following Tesla on kind of smoke and mirrors, as you say?
They were, and right now they're under some serious investigations, and so those are always slow moving, and they've covered it up pretty well. I'm sure they've got a great legal team and PR team, but Yeah, I think that people were kind of slow to see what was happening and that it was, again, the smoke and mirrors. We were sold the idea that you'd buy a Tesla and then you didn't have to buy another Tesla. You just kept upgrading the new software and the software is just going to get better and exponentially better and better and better. And that hasn't happened. It's almost like kind of an iPhone situation if you think about it, that where it's like, is the iPhone 15 exponentially better than the 12, 13? Yeah, it's a little bit better. But it's not like we're getting groundbreaking new things on this. It's not like we've got some kind of autopilot feature on our phones yet. So I just don't think that the technology is there yet. And where you will see it and where you do see it is where we said is dedicated lanes and dedicated fleets.
So that's why we're seeing that thing on I-94, because people have asked me, like, what's all that construction happening? That's over what, Belleville, I want to say?
Yeah, exactly. The Cavenue project and that corridor, the 94 corridor. This is going to work for things like long-haul trucking potentially, certainly short-haul trucking or local trucking. It'll work for shuttles, even passenger shuttles on a fixed route. I think that's the important thing to think about. Fixed route models work really well for autonomous driving. But once you stick an autonomous vehicle out there and it's not a fixed route, it can go any which way and wherever the passenger tells it and all this, it gets really muddy in the waters real quickly. And anytime you have an autonomous vehicle out there with the rest of the mad traffic, you're running into some potentially huge legal issues. And we all know companies are scared of that. But, the last thing you want is an autonomous vehicle veering off or doing, someone killing it or another car. You can't account. An autonomous vehicle could be driving at a, infallible route. But if some maniac rams into it, what do we do there?
There's insurance questions, things like that. So what do you think of the argument that, sure, there may be accidents with autonomous vehicles, but they may be more accurate than humans? Will there be accidents either way? And some will say some people are blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah, I mean, even if you said that they are safer, you can't account for that. You have to segregate because you can't have this perfect, even if it was a semi-perfect system, you can't have the semi-perfect system existing with the crazy masses like us who maybe don't look when we change lanes or do all sorts of crazy stuff. So the variables are maddening to try and account for. And so I think for the time being, and when I say time being, I'm talking, years and years and years for, the foreseeable future, the next decade. I think what you're going to see is more segregated autonomous driving, fixed routes, dedicated lanes is another one where, yeah, maybe it's on 94, but there's a lane for autonomous vehicles, that type of thing. You're going to have to segregate the vehicles that are moving with a human driver and the vehicles that are moving with autonomous driving. I don't think that's going to change.
You know what else has a lane that's kind of segregated from other things? Maybe even above grade. Maybe reliably goes in the same direction back and forth. A train.
Does it drive itself?
I mean, some of them do.
Yeah.
The People Mover drives itself.
The People Mover does drive itself. Very good point here. Can we get the Q line to drive itself? It kind of does.
Well, yeah. So if it had a dedicated lane, I've always wondered what would happen if we could get the Q line to have that, let's just say a transit lane. So the buses and the Q line go down that lane. It could be a lot easier if you just say, for a good section of that, this is a transit lane.
I think that's one of the things that everybody can get on board with, even from a transit perspective. I love the idea. I would love to see more dedicated transit lanes, whether, like you said, whether it's a bus, a train, any kind of multimodal vehicle, but this is a particular transit lane and we just move them up those corridors.
I also wonder too, we've got those new HOV lanes. What if we actually put down routes down those HOV lanes so that they have more use and feel more sensical? Because some listeners are very... they're feeling like they're enforced irregularly, but when I was able to get some information, they're basically working on enforcement and ramping that up. They didn't want to hit enforcement like day one, which makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people are still trying to figure out what they are, how they work. If you've been to other states and driven, you might know what they are. But if you haven't a lot of experience driving in other states with HOV lanes, you may be completely confused about what's going on.
Right. And so people know HOV is you can't just be one person in the car. And usually it's during certain times.
Right.
Devon O'Reilly, it's always good to talk to you.
Great to talk to you, Jer. We've got a lot of stuff on the horizon. Again, I hope people are transitioning their decorations, writing some new Thanksgiving songs. Clearly, we still need some Thanksgiving songs. So if any of our creative class of listener wants to write some Thanksgiving songs, we'd be happy to listen to them and talk about them.
Or Happy Lions Day.
Or just Happy Lions Day. Go Lions.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.